What's up, everyone? Renat here, and you're watching MMA Fight. The tournament in Brazil just wrapped up, with Charles Oliveira fighting in the main event and Mateusz Gamrot joining him. In the co-main event, another former champion, Deiveson Figueiredo, fought Montel Jackson. We also had Luque versus Alvarez and many other exciting matchups. This is your full recap of all the UFC fights in Rio, Brazil. Let's go! Simon Oliveira missed weight by over 3 kilograms and will forfeit 50% of his purse to his opponent. The Brazilian received his UFC contract in 2021 and has since had 3 fights, losing all 3. His opponent, Luan Lacerda, is also on a losing streak, having lost both of his bouts in the promotion. It's likely that for the loser, today's fight will be their last in the UFC. The first round saw grappling exchanges. Oliveira worked from the top, Lacerda worked from the top, but Lacerda did significantly more in this round. He controlled longer and had real submission attempts, ultimately taking the round. In the second 5-minute frame, Lacerda increased his advantage, secured a takedown, and spent a long time on top. However, at some point, Simon Oliveira managed to literally turn things around and ended up on top himself, but was quickly caught in an armbar. Lacerda defeats Simon Oliveira by armbar in the second round. Julia Palastri debuted in the UFC last year and has since had 3 fights in the organization. She has had mixed success with 1 win and 2 losses. Her opponent was one of the most experienced athletes, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. She has been fighting in the UFC for 10 years and in 2023 was on a 4-fight winning streak, but stumbled twice last year. For all 3 rounds, Julia Palastri completely dominated Karolina on the feet, in a one-sided affair, outstriking her in every round. Karolina was noticeably inferior in both pressure and speed. In the third round, while confidently leading the fight on points, Palastri landed a precise head kick. Karolina was visibly stunned and started taking a barrage of strikes on the feet. There were so many strikes that the referee intervened and stopped the fight. Julia Palastri wins by technical knockout in the third round. Lucas Rocha earned his UFC contract after winning on the Contender Series, but lost his debut fight. A year later, he returns to the octagon. His opponent, Stuart Nickel, also started his UFC journey with a loss, although he had never lost in his professional career before that. Today's fight is a chance for both to bounce back from their unsuccessful debuts. An unremarkable bout, Lucas Rocha took absolutely every round. He was better in striking, defended grappling well, and it was, a typical flyweight fight that you could easily have skipped, which you probably did. By decision, all 3 judges scored at 30-27 for Lucas Rocha. Irina Alexeyeva had her last fight in June of this year, losing by unanimous decision to Claudia Sigula. The Russian has had 3 fights total in the world's Premier League, only managing to secure a win in 1 of them. Her opponent, Beatriz Mesquita, has extensive experience in BJJ and numerous accolades in the sport. In MMA, she has only 5 professional fights and no losses. Today, Beatriz is making her UFC debut. At the 2-minute mark of the fight, the Brazilian secured a takedown and immediately took the mount position and started to unleash ground and pound. No, she couldn't finish the fight early in over 3 minutes. The horn sounds, and the second round begins in exactly the same way. At the 2-minute mark, a takedown from the Brazilian, but this time not mount. Instead, she takes the back and goes for a choke. Irina taps, and Mesquita wins her UFC debut fight and an early finish at that. Vitor Petrino was on a 4-fight winning streak in the UFC, but then lost twice and considered moving up to heavyweight. His debut in the new weight class was successful, as the Brazilian choked out Austin Lane in the first round. Today, his opponent is Thomas Peters, who has an alternating record of wins and losses. In May of this year, the American secured a victory over Dontel Mays. Petrino dominated the fight, and there are exactly 2 moments I need to tell you about. In the first uneventful round, closer to the end, Petrino dropped Peters with a 1-2 combination, and in the third round, he caught the American with an uppercut and immediately followed up with a left hook, resulting in a devastating knockout for Vitor Petrino. Jafel Filo secured 2 consecutive first-round submissions, but then stumbled in a fight against Alan Nascimento, losing by unanimous decision. Clayton Carpenter earned 2 rear-naked choke victories early in his UFC career, but lost his last fight to Tagir Ulanbek, though he put up a competitive fight. In the very first round, Filo executed a Kimura, and Carpenter had to tap twice. The first time the referee didn't see it, but it didn't take long for him to tap a second time. Filo secures a submission victory in the very first round. Lucas Almeida is a rather aging representative of his division, and in his last fight, he lost to Danny Silva on points. The Brazilian has only 2 wins in 5 UFC fights. Mike Easwell is 9 years younger than his opponent and made his UFC debut in May of this year, losing to Balazs Oki by decision. Many experts and fans noticed that Lucas Almeida had a swollen right hand during the weigh-ins. How serious was Lucas's injury, and was it an injury at all? Let's see. And yes, it was an injury. Lucas didn't throw a single strike with that injured hand, but the fight also didn't last long. Lucas started taking strike after strike, went to the canvas, where he caught a flurry of unanswered blows. Ultimately, the referee stopped the fight, with Easwell securing a quick knockout victory in the first round. The question of how Lucas was cleared the fight, if the whole world already knew about the injury, remains open. In his last 4 fights, Ricardo Ramos has only secured 1 victory. Ramos holds a unique achievement. He has delivered 2 spinning back elbow knockouts in the UFC, when there have only been 10 such knockouts in the promotion's entire history. Kang Ho Kang has had 2 fights in the league, and in both, he faced serious opposition in the form of Muhammadjan Naimov and Myron Santos. And apparently, the matchmakers decided not to lower his level of competition, so today it's the experienced Ricardo Ramos. Ricardo Ramos quickly latched onto Ho Kang's leg and tried to break it in various ways. He attempted a knee bar and a heel hook. Several attempts were unsuccessful, after which they switched roles. Ho Kang was now on his back and started trying to execute submissions, and he managed to do it quickly. The rear naked choke was tight, so Ramos had to tap, and Kang Ho Kang wins by submission in the first round. Jonathan Deniz secured a victory in June of this year, thus bouncing back from a disappointing performance against Marcin Tybura. The Brazilian has 3 wins total in the league, 2 of which were by decision. Mario Pinto is very young by heavyweight standards. The Portuguese fighter turned 27 this year and has 1 fight in the UFC. In March of this year, he knocked out Austin Lane and earned a $50,000 bonus. Pinto completely grappled the Brazilian for 2 rounds, but not just taking him down and holding him, he actively threw strikes and looked for submissions. In the first round, he could have executed both a Kimura and an armbar, but the fight ultimately only ended in the second round. Towards the end of the 5-minute round, Deniz was exhausted, and the Portuguese fighter continued to throw strikes and eventually overwhelmed his opponent with strikes when there were only a few seconds left in the second round. Pinto remains undefeated and secures an early finish in the second round. In his last fight, Vicente Luque lost by submission to Kevin Holland. In his last 4 fights, the Brazilian has 2 wins, including a quick finish against Themba Gorimbo. Joel Alvarez was on a 3-fight finishing streak in the lightweight division, but decided to move up to welterweight due to a difficult weight cut. This is because at 155 pounds, the Spanish twice failed to make the category limits. Well, let's see him at welterweight. And it was complete domination from Alvarez for all 3 rounds. In the very first round, he busted up the Brazilian's face, and Luque was unwilling to engage in striking exchanges where he was clearly outmatched. And then we saw a lot of grappling where Luque repeatedly took damage. His time has passed. Alvarez absolutely steamrolled the veteran on both the feet and on the ground, confirmed by the score of 30-26, a unanimous decision victory for Alvarez. In this fight, the referee's work also deserves separate mention. He actually stopped the fight and recorded a knockout victory for Alvarez in the first round, but then for some reason decided to overturn his decision and the fighters continued to fight. It was a strange situation. I don't think we'll be seeing that referee in the UFC octagon again anytime soon.
Co-main event of the evening.
Deiveson Figueiredo had a great start to his bantamweight career, securing 3 consecutive wins to top positions, but then lost to Petr Yan, and in his last fight, injured his knee during a grappling exchange with Corey Sandhagen. Today, the experienced Brazilian is a significant underdog because his opponent, the younger Montel Jackson, is on a 6-fight winning streak and occupies the 15th spot in the division. A win today would allow the American to significantly advance in the rankings and even enter the title contention. Round 1. Jackson landed a couple of shots early, and Figueiredo secured a takedown at the 2-minute mark of the round. The guys wrestled on the ground for about a minute. Figueiredo couldn't capitalize, Jackson got back to his feet, and nothing much happened on the feet after that. Both fighters were cautious and barely moved forward. The second and third rounds were predominantly contested on the feet, with a slight advantage for Montel Jackson in my opinion, but the Brazilian compensated for this slight advantage with his wrestling, timely initiating takedowns, even if they weren't long holds, and thanks to his more diverse work, Figueiredo rightly took the victory by split decision. Main event of the evening. Charles Oliveira returns after a devastating knockout loss to Ilia Topuria at the end of June this year. Many fans were skeptical of Charles's decision to return to the octagon so quickly. However, he is confident that it will not prevent him from winning today. Originally, the Brazilian's opponent was supposed to be Rafael Fiziev, who withdrew due to injury. And so on 2 weeks' notice, Mateusz Gamrot stepped in, having long desired to fight the division's top contenders. In his last 10 fights, Gamrot holds a top position with only 2 losses. First round. Oliveira immediately comes out aggressively, landing shots, but also runs into a counter. Typical Oliveira. Gamrot senses trouble and goes for a takedown, securing it. He spent a full minute on top defending against the Brazilian's submission attempts, after which Oliveira himself took his back. So Gamrot took him down and initially defended from the top, then defended when Oliveira was on his back. That's how Charles took the round. He spent a significant amount of time on Gamrot's back. Second 5-minute round, and Oliveira once again unleashes serious pressure on the feet, constantly pushing, never letting up, just shadowing Gamrot. Mateusz of course lands counters, but you can see how uncomfortable he is with this pressure. And suddenly Charles himself shoots for a double leg and takes Gamrot down, after which he once again takes his back and chokes him out. Yes, Gamrot taps, and Charles Oliveira celebrates a submission victory in the second round. He bounced back after that painful loss to Topuria this summer. Leave your comments on how you liked the Rio tournament and what awaits the fighters next. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the recap. Subscribe to the channel. See you soon, friends. Bye-bye.